Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Interviews with the Experts. Today on the episode, I'm talking to a very good friend of mine whose name is Samantha Brennecke. And Sam and I actually really bonded over mental health. She came into my life about, what the fuck's going on here? Is this all good? What's going on there? There we go. Okay, so Sam and I bonded probably in about 2011, so six to 7 years ago, and she was the first person that I really felt comfortable with opening up about my anxiety and about things like that, because she had some issues of her own. So today was great to catch up in a cafe with her and just talk about all things mental health. And she has a psychology background as well, so she can give us a bit more of a clinician perspective as well. So it was really fun, guys. I really enjoyed it. I really hope you take away some content from this as well, and just reach out to me. So I've just founded the Mind Mate, which is in dealing with open-ended discussion about mental health and people's issues and troubles, but also their goings on and day-to-day life with their own personal mental health. Because that's not to say that mental health is a bad thing. It's mental health and just how it rises and falls every day. But yeah, I got a lot out of this, and what I really learnt about it, again, I know I'm reiterating these points all the time, but it was the overwhelming commonality with a lot of this sort of stuff. So there are all different sorts of issues, but in terms of the feelings that they give us, they're so common. So let's keep pumping this sort of stuff. And yes, so reach out to me, guys. info@themindmate.com. That's THEMINDMATE.com. And you can find that on all the social medias. So go to .com. That's my email address. You can hit me up on Instagram and Facebook as well. And I will be happy to talk to you. All right, without further ado, I'm going to transition you into a cafe like I did with Cam, and hopefully we're going to go into it now.
Just gonna let you like run it.
Yeah, I'll run it. You just. Should we like feed this into like around the salt and pepper to make it look legit?
Oh yeah.
I'll keep this in. All right, we'll put it there. Now no one will be any the wiser. Hey, what's that mouse behind the pepper?
Little bunny rabbit.
Yeah.
I don't know why I did that.
All right,
Cool.
Here we go. So Sammy, Tom Ahern.
Samantha Brennecke. It's lovely to meet you.
Middle name?
Joe.
Joe.
With no E, just J-O.
So, and Joe is the female way of doing it, isn't it?
What?
I don't know. I feel.
I know, I'm like sweating. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm really nervous around you.
All right. Well, why don't you tell everyone how we met, how we know each other?
Far out. So I suppose rewind to 2011, where your sister came to America.
Yes.
Studied at my high school in my junior year, and we became best friends. So was it 2011 Christmas?
Yeah, I think
Christmas
it was.
2011.
So I was year 12 then.
Yeah. So you came to the States. That's
Yes.
when I first met. Yeah, you flog. And then I just remember thinking you were like this like strange
Hottest Oh, sorry, you were going. We're not gonna.
Well, you're like the second Australian I ever met.
Yeah.
So it was like you're like this weird like.
Piece
But
of
like
shit.
really funny, but I was like, I want to bring him everywhere with me.
Yeah.
Like a little like.
Well, I was like a little teacup pig.
Yeah.
Look at my pig. I know.
Yeah, I don't know, and I felt like pretty quickly on, like we just became good mates.
Yeah, really.
And then yeah, like I moved here and lived with you for a year. That was hell.
Yeah, it was like, yeah.
And we played chess every day and ate lots of food.
I know.
Yeah, that's pretty
that
much.
was. Well,
Yeah.
you know, actually, in getting slowly onto the topic, one of the first memories I do have of us, like when you came to live with us, was we were playing chess, and then we started talking about religion and God, and we were talking about like heaven and hell.
Yeah.
And you were like, because I remember I was telling you about how I had a massive anxiety with that, and you were just like talking to me about, you know, what if there is a hell, and what if there is like a heaven, and just like I feel like it was my first ever time that someone like challenged me on like the, you know, it's okay to like not be certain about things, because I was like, fuck, like I don't want this to happen, I don't want this to happen, I don't want this to happen. But you were like the first person to be like, oh well, look, what if it does happen? Do you remember that?
I do. I like vaguely remember our conversation because I think if I'm thinking the right thing.
Because when we were playing chess at some point.
Yeah, I mean, but that was like every day for like 6 months. Yeah. But I feel like I remember, I actually remember feeling really bad after that conversation.
Oh, really?
Because I feel like I remember you, like, you were quite anxious about it.
Yeah.
After even though we were talking about it.
Yeah.
You seemed a little bit anxious. Because then I remember a conversation a little bit later on where we had a conversation about like supernatural, like ghosts and things like that. And that was like another thing that you were a bit anxious about at that point in time as well.
Yeah.
And again, then I feel like I did more harm than damage. Like harm than good, more harm than damage.
I did more harm than damage. Oh yeah.
But yeah, so
easier, harder said than did.
But yeah, so I do remember that. But that's interesting that that's what sticks out in your mind.
Yeah, I know. Well, because like I was just trying to think like when was the first time that you and I, because you've been obviously one of my best friends for a very long time, even though we don't see each other a whole lot. It's one of those friendships that never dies.
Yeah.
And like I was trying to think because all my close mates, they're all really good at chatting openly and honestly about this sort of thing, and that's why I wanted to get you on the show.
Yeah.
But like on the show. But I was trying to think like last night about the first time that we ever spoke about that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it was us having that chat, and then I feel like someone mentioned that you struggled with anxiety before that. And I just felt open to talking to you about that.
Yeah.
But why don't you tell us a little bit about what sort of kicked things off for you, and when did you realise that you sort of, had anxiety, as opposed to the fact like everyone has it?
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
I think I can actually remember specifically when I first realised what I had been feeling for so long was like not to kind of go back and forth, but I was watching your video with the psychologist that you did, and how you kind of went into the psychologist knowing that something was wrong, but you weren't sure what it was. You knew that there were a lot of physical things going on with you, but you just had no idea. So I reckon I was about 15 when I actually somehow stumbled across the definition of anxiety, and when I read it, I was like, this is what I've been feeling.
100%.
I think really what came first for me was the depression, and that probably started at about 12 years old.
And that's so young as well. It's
insane.
Insane.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what it was. Like looking back, I think I did a lot of I felt really, really lonely, even though I had no reason to feel alone. I had 3 siblings. I had parents. I had good friends and that sort of thing. But I always felt like a really old soul in a really young body. So I always thought that what I was feeling was isolated to me.
Yeah.
That it didn't happen to anybody else. So there's no point in talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But so I mean, that started at age 12, but then when I read that definition at 15, that was like, bam, smack in the face. Like,
100%.
This is what it is. And then...
Do you know what's really fascinating for me as well in that particular scenario is the fact that, I feel like anxiety and depression, they have these stereotypes of, they only affect the elderly or, adult people and all this sort of stuff. But depression, and maybe you can shed some light on this, because was more anxiety derived as opposed to having straight depression. But, I feel like when people think of it, they go, oh yeah, it's because someone's, down about their job or this and that, and, they just go through life. But, anyone can get chronically down about things. What
definitely.
kind of triggered that for you without going into too much detail?
No, I mean, I think for, it took me a while to realize, it's funny because it's looking back that I realized what it was. I didn't know what it was when I was in that mindset, I suppose. But for me, it was definitely the biggest thing in terms of depression for me was the inability to feel loved. I struggled with that for a very, very long time, well into my adulthood, and it was only really within my, I suppose, not to be too cliche, but my relationship with Lachlan that I really realized that I am capable of being loved, and that I don't, that I don't have to be perfect all the time, I don't have to exceed people's expectations or save the world to be, to be able to be loved, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where my depression started, because I felt so alone at such a young age, but I felt like I needed to change everything and I needed to change the world, but at the same time just had an incapability of being able to put myself out there, because I didn't think that I could really, I wanted to do these things, but I didn't think that I could.
And that makes so much sense. It's like that feeling of isolation that fucks people around so much.
Complete isolation.
It's insane. And so then did it, because I really remember one time and I remember we were at my house, and I think I had a friend over, and I saw for the first time what a panic attack looked like.
Yeah.
And
was that really your first time?
It was the first time I'd ever seen it. Yeah, but
yeah.
it was the first time that I'd seen like the physical symptoms of anxiety. Because like I knew that like I was, not the most relaxed kid as when I was growing up and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I was I knew what the fuck I was doing. I was just like
you just thought you were hyper, like
yeah. Everything's fine. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, this is all good. But like when I saw that, do you remember the time I'm talking to you about?
Yeah, I do remember the time you're talking about. Yeah.
Do you remember what that was about?
Yeah. So I suppose anxiety for me got to a point where it was extremely physical more than it was mental for me. So in that particular instance, it was exercise. I was just exercising, and like any person who's trying to get fit or however you want to say it, they push themselves during the exercise.
Yeah.
They think
not be a fatty.
Yeah.
Is a technical term. No offense to anyone who's currently a fatty. Sorry.
So bad.
It's a little bit politically correct.
No, I remember I was exercising and I was pushing myself. I was pushing myself to exercise.
Yeah.
Or to work harder in that exercise, and that for me triggered a panic attack because I was struggling to
breathe.
You're heavy breathing because you're exercising. You're working your body, and it got to a point so that was really that day actually was a really pinnacle point in my anxiety, because I think after that I had anxiety about getting anxiety then.
Yeah,
that's where
fear.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yes.
I hit that point where even now I'm a lot better, but even driving here today, talking about anxiety, the word anxiety itself used to give me anxiety.
Yeah, for sure.
I would just get the physical shakes. I wouldn't be fearful. I wouldn't be stressed or anything like that. But as soon as something like that happened, where I'm in a situation like that, my body would just completely shut down.
Yeah.
And I suppose my first, my really intense experience with the physical aspect of anxiety was when I was traveling in Central America in 2014, and that was, I feel like I've told you about that.
Yeah, I think I remember that, yeah.
So basically, ended up in hospital because I had a panic attack that left me paralyzed, literally paralyzed. I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't move. I couldn't even open my eyes. My hands were clenched.
The worst.
In a way that I couldn't even, and I couldn't communicate. I was incapable of communicating with people, and I literally thought I was dying.
Yeah.
I remember I got my mom on the phone and told her that I loved her while I was in the hospital, because I had just no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
But I mean, lots of things going on in my head right now, because that for me was really, I realized how much alcohol impacted my anxiety.
Yeah.
I mean, I noticed that, I realized that very, very early on, but I think with the comorbidity with depression, it was something that I would rather drink and have anxiety than feel what I was feeling,
exactly.
I suppose.
Yeah.
But that instance when I was traveling was a really big wake up for me. You're in hospital getting IVs pumped into you because nobody knows really what's going on. They just think we just need a hydrator.
Yeah.
And I remember the doctor was actually really rude to me. I think he thought that I had taken drugs, which I hadn't.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't.
Yeah, for sure.
I was just paralyzed. Absolutely paralyzed.
Yes, you were out of control of the symptoms. Isn't that insane? There were two. Excuse me. Actually, 1 second. I just want to make sure that you're in the shot really well. So. Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah. If you can just sit, maybe sit wait, go back to where you were, and then look at me. That you've kind of been there the whole time, eh?
Kind of been there?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. No, I mean, I haven't done this.
Yeah.
No, I'm sitting like this.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So as long as you just stay relatively warm. Yeah. Keep it all in. Alright, that's good. Yeah, that's fine. So we just stay here. Yeah. Alright, that's good. Well, yeah, you legit mentioned two points that I was really fascinated with. Oh yeah, so one of the things that So one of the things that I still struggle with is the fear of fear thing you said before. It's I'm fearful of getting another panic attack. Not because I'm scared of shit. What if what does the panic attack mean? Yada yada yada. It's more of it's just annoying to get another one. And the guys watching know that I had a panic attack, and I think as well when I was public speaking, and I was taking a brief at one of my old CrossFit gyms. And I don't get it anymore because I'm like, I just have to do it every day. I'm like, okay, it's just so much easier to do now. But I still every now and then when the crowd's big, get that worry of like, oh shit, what if I get a panic attack? Because then it's like, fuck, like it's just, I just can't get out what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I'm not actually freaking out. But so for you personally, like, what are your mechanisms that you put into place to sort of dissipate that fear of fear, essentially? Because it's a tough one. It's a spiral.
Yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily like, I wouldn't even say that it's, for me, I think it was actually, I realized, I'm trying to get this right. So like, I don't fear the fear of it anymore because I know that I have people around me that are going to support me if that does happen. I think for me, I still, like, because when that happened, for example, that was really embarrassing for me. And when I used to have panic attacks, it was more just embarrassment. Like, I didn't want anybody to see it. I didn't want, because you're not in control. You feel so, it's the most vulnerable thing.
Absolutely.
Because you're not in charge of it.
Yep.
Whereas now I think I don't have the fear, like, I don't fear the fear because there's nothing to be afraid of. It's going to happen and it's going to pass.
Yes.
And and you're going to come out of it and you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And you have those support systems in place. I think for me it's just more making sure that I am conscious of what makes those tics. Like, so for example, like drinking was a massive thing for me that I
what makes it like worse? Or?
Oh yeah, it makes it very
yes.
worse. But it's funny because it makes it worse the next day when alcohol's leaving the system and you're dehydrated and all those sorts of things. So I went for a long time just kind of monitoring that, and I don't know, I suppose it's not really something that I consciously have thought of or something that I made a switch in my brain. I do know, and I feel like you know this as well, that after I got back from my trip when I had that first panic attack and I went to a doctor and all that sort of stuff, and I actually ended up getting on medication for my depression and anxiety. And that's what initially stopped the panic attacks from happening, like full blown at least. I still had like Valium and those types of things to have when I was having a panic attack. But then it was when I came off that medication that I had to relearn how to, like, I remember when I first came, like, I'm a really easy crier, like, I'm a really empathetic person.
They're gonna make me stop.
I mean, I think to your mom's, like, 50th birthday when I couldn't even, like, get through the first words of the speech, she's like, you're not even talking yet.
That's so true. That's right, I forgot about that. Just started falling your eyes out. Like, what's going on here? That was so funny. Oh, I forgot about that.
But I mean, I remember when I came off my medication, I remember crying for the first time in a really, really long time and thinking, wow, like, that actually suppressed so much.
Yes.
Like, that I wasn't even aware of how much it was suppressing until I was off of it.
Yeah,
so,
you had like almost like an ability to feel again, good and bad, or?
I mean, but I wasn't, like, I didn't feel numb on my medication, so I suppose it wasn't that I wasn't feeling anything, I just, the intensity of how I used to always feel things came back. But I felt so much more capable of managing it because I had the right support systems in place. So,
you and I were, the last time we caught up, we were talking about the expression like anxiety recovery and like management and all that sort of stuff. And I feel like you and I are both on the same plane in that regard. Is it like, because it's an emotion, you can never like recover from anxiety. You can come from like, well, you can like reduce the severity of an anxiety disorder, but you can never recover from something because you've never like covered from it in the first place. Almost. Like, what would you say is like the right way to sort of say that?
I think
because you seem like such a good position right now in your life. Like, love and like happiness is just radiating off you. It's the best thing ever. So like, what would you describe your recovery process and how would you actually call that thing?
I think, okay, again, there's just a lot of things running through my brain because obviously
I'm thinking circus, I'm thinking clowns, I'm thinking bread.
Origami.
Yeah, I'm thinking origami. Let's go.
Well, there's two things, or there's probably a million things that I could say about that. Like, the first thing I want to kind of touch on, because I was thinking about this a lot since our last conversation, was, you know that I have a psych background, so I did my degree in psych, and I remember within that the reason that, like, because I was always very against, not class, like, putting a name to it. Like, although for me the term anxiety and understanding what I was going through helped me, but for a lot of people it doesn't. Again, it creates that fear of the fear.
Exactly.
So, but within psychology and within mental health, they look at it that you need to be able to label it so that it can then be diagnosed and then it can then be treated.
Yeah.
So you can't have all those steps until you say, this is what you have.
Yeah.
So, like, that's just something that I'm not sure that I agree with 100%. Like, within the mental health and within the medical field, in terms of, like, recovering, recovery to me, like, recovering from mental health, it's I don't know, like, it's having, exactly what you said, having anxiety is an emotion, it's an ongoing thing, and it's just about, like, not even, like, management isn't necessarily the right word either, but it's just about understanding how it affects you. Like, some people, like,
I completely agree.
Like how I just said, I'm an empathetic person. I'm more prone to cry at the drop of a hat, just like some people are more prone to have anxious feeling. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to, like label myself as I mean, I would label myself as a crier, but not, like, in a negative way, I suppose.
That's so true. Like, I think in terms of my opinion, you hit the nail on the head, absolutely. Like, it's learning about, so it's self-awareness, like learning about what makes you tick, and then learning, I mean, if you figure out who you are and then figure out what things cause you to do certain things, you can literally control your emotions. You know, you can choose whether to be, like, if I wanted to be really angry, I could, right now, I know this is an obvious thing to say, but, like, I could just watch, like, 100 hours of footage of animals getting abused. Of course that's going to spark anger in me. You know, if I wanted to go and do something I was really scared about, and I had a rational fear about jumping into a shark tank, I could literally choose to get really anxious. But, like, if I guess happiness is the goal, you just have to keep putting things in your life that make you happy. Like, talking to great friends and talking to people about this stuff makes me happy, and, like, doing what you're doing makes you happy. Like, why wouldn't you want to choose to just be happy? You know?
No, 100% on that. Because I was going to mention that. I think that for me, the real turning point in, like, my mental health was realizing, what am I actually passionate about, and what do I really want to achieve in this life and in this world. And because similar to you, not in the same sense, but I have a bit of a fear around death and the idea of dying. And if I overthink it, it can really, like, just mess with my head.
Definitely.
So I think I channeled that then into, instead of being afraid of dying, just love your life and do whatever you need to do to make sure that you've made the impact that you want to leave on this world, or you know, anything like that. And I think for a little while I got a bit confused because I thought that I had to have one thing, one thing that I want to do. So I did psych, and I really wanted to do that, and I wanted to, you know, I do still, like, want to work with PTSD and all these other things, but then there's all these other aspects, you know, like prevention of sex trafficking, mental health, domestic violence, like women empowerment in general, all those types of things. You can implement those things in your daily life in a small way, and you will see an impact over time because you're doing things that you love on a daily basis. So that to me was really, really important.
I mean, do you think, like, that saying the word, you said before, like, how labeling the issue and then trying to resolve the issue is, like, it's a hard way to do it, as opposed to just, like, you know, making little habitual lifestyle changes in your life that make it better. Because when you said that to me, you know, saying the word anxiety used to freak you out, because you'd be like, okay, anxiety, I have anxiety, now I need to fix it. When I first figured out that I had anxiety, I reckon I had about 10 panic attacks. So I was like, oh fuck, I've heard all this stuff about what it is. Now I literally have an issue. You know, I feel like it's like, if you went to a doctor and someone said, okay, you're fat, or there's a label on that, it's like, oh, now I'm fat. This is hard. When realistically, like, nothing changed to the person you were 2 seconds ago. You just got to find what works for you. You know?
I agree with you, but, like, within my studies, it's still a debate within the mental health field for sure, of whether or not we should be labeling any type of, you know, with schizophrenia, with autism spectrum disorder, depression, all those types of things. It's a constant debate of whether or not we should be labeling it. But as I said, the way that it works within the mental health area at the moment is that if you don't label it, you can't treat it, you can't diagnose it, and it can't be treated. So for people who have more severe mental health disorders, like things such as schizophrenia, which require specific ways of handling it, they need to have that. Unfortunately, that label needs to be, that they need to put that label on it, but it's not that I agree with it. It's just I can understand it. I don't know a better way of doing it, but I don't think that it's the best way that it can be done.
I mean, and, like, because every case is so unique, and, like, there's so much fragility within mental health. It's like, it'd be so hard. What about in terms of your, practice of self-awareness? Like, do you meditate, or do you practice introspection, or something to keep in tune with yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I do it in a lot of different ways. I don't do it the same way necessarily. Like, definitely in terms of the introspection, I don't do it the same way every day.
Yeah.
Meditation, for me, was always kind of something that I struggled with because I have a bit of a brain.
Yeah. I have a brain. I don't think you do, but I have a brain. Yeah.
But my mind will race off into a million different places.
Yeah.
And so meditation I used to really struggle with, and it wasn't until quite recently, actually, with the meditation side of things, that they call it the miracle morning.
Yeah.
So I feel like, maybe did I tell you?
Yeah, I think so.
But it's basically just taking about an hour every morning to do. There's a few different steps within it, but one of those things is meditation, and it's not meditation, or it doesn't have to be meditation where you're sitting there and
exactly, completely naked,
like fire is burning, I literally like first thing I do when I wake up is I sit down, feet flat on the floor, hands on my legs, and just 5 minutes of closing my eyes and breathing deeply, just breathing. And I know it sounds really weird, but for anybody who's practiced meditation or yoga before, they'd be familiar with it. It's feeling my breath all the way down to my toes and back up throughout my, through my lungs, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's in that moment that you realize how present you are, that you're in this world.